More than 300 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed this year across the country, and research showing if passed, they'll disproportionately affect people of color. NBC News digital reporter Maya Eklund spoke to advocates about their biggest concerns.
When it's being outlawed to take care of us, when our families are facing, legal punishments for taking care of us and recognizing us, it sets a very, very violent and very scary precedent.
Waves of anti-LGBTQ plus bills have been introduced across the U.S. this year, from the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida to the SAFE Act in Ohio, which bans gender-affirming mental and medical care for minors. Activists say these bills are putting queer folks in danger.
There have been families who have not been able to receive the care that they rely upon because of the introduction of these bills.
And when you hear about discussions about proposed legislation or bills around the country, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel scared. Without access to gender-affirming care, without access to healthcare providers who understood my need and who tried to even when they didn't, I wouldn't be here today.
According to the Human Rights Campaign, there have been over 300 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced this year alone, putting 2022 on track to surpass last year as the worst year in recent history for LGBTQ state legislative attacks. David Johns is the executive director of the National Black Justice Coalition, a civil rights organization at the intersection of racial equity and LGBTQIA plus equality.
There are now 60 million children in the 42 states across this country that have either introduced or codified censorship legislation targeting LGBTQIA plus histories, experiences, and ways of being.
This week, the White House acknowledged, quote, an onslaught of dangerous anti-LGBTQI plus legislation has been introduced and passed in states across the country, and saying these unconscionable attacks have left countless LGBTQI plus families in fear and pain. But Sage says these discussions are nothing new for trans people of color.
There's this expectation that is placed on Black trans people to all be activists. The truth is, my activism is waking up every day as I am and surviving.
She's the director and founder of Team Mag, a small independent online publication that actively works against pervasive anti-Black, brown, and queer narratives.
I identify as a change maker and an artist first.
And has turned to art to inspire change.
Through representations in media, we're much more able to change the conversations that push forward these pervasive anti-trans, anti-Black, anti-queer narratives that ultimately lead to violence.
People who are leveraging their platforms in the media to demonstrate the beautiful diversity that has always existed are significant in allowing people to shift, or at a minimum to question some of their biases or the stigma that they might have inherited.
How are you able to bring in art and representation into your work?
When we show up in narratives primarily